ladies, there's probably a handful of you. Welcome to the channel. My name's Taylor. Today we're looking at the new ENGL Ravager IR. Ravager. Now you might be looking at this whole setup here and like,
whoa, Taylor, what the f***'s going on here, man? You get a lot of things hooked up just to show us this tiny little amplifier.
there's a great reason for that. I actually polled you guys and asked you what you wanted to see with this amplifier. So all of this stuff is sort of my way of fulfilling your wildest dreams or YouTube comments or whatever. That's what's going on here. We will get into this in just a second. The reason that I am posting this video now, I actually had to remake this video. There was an embargo on this amplifier. It got announced, videos got released, and I was told to hold my video back. And I thought, like, if I'm gonna hold this video back, I might as well just address some of those things for you guys, you know? So with all of those words being said, I need to disclaim some things to you. ENGL asked me if they could send me this amplifier. Jurgen, being the guy he is, told me to keep it. So now this video is sponsored, I guess. Okay, so there you go. Disclaimers out of the way. That's why you saw the little card thingy. I've been in possession of this amplifier for about a month now. I was just like halfway through unboxing this thing and realized that I had no camera on. What am I doing with my life? Look at this. It's just this tiny little thing. They sent me this massive box though. Okay, so this 20-watt amplifier, this is the Ravager. Man, look at this thing. That was a big box for this little amplifier. Look at the size of this. This is in a very, very small housing. You know, smaller than the MT15, but 5 extra watts. So it'd be interesting to test this out and see, you know, how loud it is. It looks like we have a foot switch. I didn't see a foot switch in the box. Okay, so it does not come with a foot switch. It's important. The other thing that I want to do that I feel like is really important to do with one of these amplifiers is I want to take this to my band practice space situation and see how it hangs with a real drum set. You know, that way you can get a perspective on that, because it might surprise some of you how loud or not loud these amplifiers are in a live situation. So we're gonna do that as well. And I feel like I have a pretty good handle on this amplifier now, and I'm really glad that I'm redoing this video because I didn't know the price in that original video as well. So it really changed my opinions on a lot of things, because this amplifier is, let's just read the specs. This is the ENGL Ravager. It is a 20-watt all-tube lunchbox style amplifier with technically four different power output modes. You have a 20-watt mode, a 5-watt mode, a 1-watt mode, and a no-watt mode. Yes, you can make this amplifier silent for home recording or whatever you would need it silent for. It features 2 preamp tubes, one 𝗦cie𝗰𝗶𝗹 and one 12AX7, which I thought were the same tubes. I guess I'm dumb. It says that a 12AX7 is American designation, while an 𝗦cie𝗰𝗶𝗹 is a European designation. So basically the same. We also have 2 power tubes, 2 EL84 power tubes to be specific. More on that throughout this video. Now, like the name implies, you do have IR loading built into the head of this amplifier, which is really nice if you want to power a cabinet on stage, but you also want to have an IR running out to front of house directly from an XLR, not have to rely on the sound guy miking up your cabinet. You can do that. You have 4 IR slots. The first slot is for the factory IR, and then you have 3 user configurable IR slots. As far as the ins and outs, we have our standard 1/4-inch input on the output end. We have a 1/4-inch line output, a 1/4-inch power amp output for 8 or 16 ohms, and 1 XLR output for the IRs that I mentioned earlier. We also have an 1/8-inch headphone jack if you want to use this for practicing. It also has a 1/4-inch effects loop, and we do have a 1/4-inch input for a foot switch control, although it does not come with a foot switch. And all of this amplifier can be had for $879 at the time of making this video. Now, I think the price on this amplifier is really interesting, and it's a big reason that I'm reshooting this video, because it changes my perspective. I thought this amplifier was gonna be like $1,600, like some of the other lunchbox style ENGL heads that they have, but no, it is $879. This means this is the cheapest ENGL amplifier that you can buy. And with that being said, I think it puts it in a very interesting place in the marketplace of lunchbox amplifiers. I do want to talk about this a lot more later on in the video. If you want to listen to that rant right now, you can check the chapters below, but let's just get back to the demoing. Okay, that's the lead channel. You can see how I have the settings here. You can also see all these pedals kind of grafted to this amplifier here. That's because this amplifier, in terms of, you know, effects and extra features, it doesn't really have many. It's very, very stripped down. But I think what this amplifier does really well is it really captures the growl of an ENGL amplifier. But if you want it to sound in league with some of these bigger ENGL amplifiers, it just needs a little bit of help, in my opinion. as we will go through in this video. Let me talk about the setup here. Let me explain what's going on. I'm playing this Jackson American Soloist. It has an EMG 81 in the bridge and an 85 in the neck. That is going into the Devil from my company, Obsidian Audio. This is a gate and overdrive pedal that I'm going to use to boost the ENGL amplifier. A notable thing about this is it has a very high output. If you want more information on that, you can see it down in the description below. I use this pedal all the time, but yeah. And then we're going from the Devil pedal into the front of the Ravager IR, and that is going into the Boss Waza tube amp expander. I'm just using this to kind of control the volume on the cab. It's really more for this amplifier when we get into it. In the effects loop of the Ravager IR, we have a Chug EQ boost and a 𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶 pedal from Hot Tone. That is going into this ENGL standard 4x12 cabinet. Now, why am I using the ENGL standard 4x12 cabinet? That's a great question. And one of the things I really like about this cabinet, specifically why I bought it, is it kind of rolls off the high end in a really nice way that I find like pleasing to the ear holes. It's mic'd up with an SM57 and a Voodoo Ribbon 1 microphone. Pretty typical microphone setup if you watch the channel. I also have an XLR that's running directly out of the ENGL Ravager, so that way you guys can hear the stock IR that comes with it. So that is the lead channel here. Now, one thing I want to point out with this lead channel is how dramatically the mid control can change the tone. If you're familiar with ENGL amplifiers, a lot of them have very nuanced mid controls that give you a wide flexibility on their amplifiers. Like the Powerball here, for example, we have two different mid modes with separate controls for each one. I feel like the mid control on the Ravager, or I'm just gonna call it the Ravager, you get the joke now, right? I feel like the mid control on the Ravager really does a lot in covering those bases, maybe not fully, but it does cover those bases in a lot of ways here. Yeah. It growls like an ENGL amplifier. Now let's go over to the clean channel here. You might be a little bit surprised by the clean channel, or maybe not. Maybe you kind of expect this. When I was reading about the EL84 tubes, it sounds like, you know, these are meant for lower wattage amplifiers, which makes sense why they're in this 20 watt amplifier, but they break up a lot sooner than something like a 6L6, which would be more suitable for a higher wattage amplifier. I'm not a tube amp expert. I'm just relaying what I read about this to you. So, you know, if you know more about this, please chime in the comments. Really appreciate it. All of that tracks with this amplifier to me. That's really just been my experience with it. We can turn down the volume here and get a little bit of a cleaner sound. But one of the things that I think is kind of cool is you really can turn this clean channel into a nice crunch channel. And we don't have as much headroom as we would with something like a 6L6, but that's kind of cool for this sort of sound. Did you expect an amplifier called Ravager to have a nice chimey clean tone? I feel like that's on you if you did. Let's run the 𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶, whatever. Let's try running that through the effects loop. I need to adjust this a little bit here. Now, one of the downsides about this amplifier, and one of the things that was probably stripped out in favor of keeping this in that very affordable price range, is you do only have one EQ section for both channels. But with the clean channel, if you do want a really clean channel, you got to do the old school, roll the volume knob back. Just in my experience, again, you know, I'm using active pickups. I'm using active pickups here, so you know, take all that into consideration. Grain of salt, if you will. I should got my little decibel meter for you, huh? I mean, we are going to take this to a practice space later, but you know, if that's helpful to you, then great. Let's turn this all the way up so that way we're not attenuating the signal at all. That means we're on full power with the ENGL Ravager. And then I just want to turn this up so you can see, watch the meter. That's loud. Is it loud enough for band practice? We will find out here. soon. But it's loud for being in this room, that's for sure. Now, my one thing with this amplifier is it's very like mid-focused, you know, and it's kind of rolled off in the high end a little bit. That is being accentuated by this cabinet. It's a little bit different with V30s. This has V60s in it, if you're familiar. That is where the chug EQ in the loop comes in. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this guy on. I've volume matched, so it's not a crazy difference, but here, listen to what a difference this makes with this amplifier. Off. On. And basically I just have this dialed in to give us more low end and more high end. And it sounds a lot more like a full-size ENGL head, as we will demonstrate here in just a minute that way. The other thing is you will really benefit from running a boost in front of this amplifier. It just really tightens everything up. It just makes everything sound like, you know what I mean? So for those of you asking me to compare this to other amplifiers, there were a lot of suggestions. A lot of those amplifiers I don't have, and I do want to make it like ENGL centric here, you know what I mean? Kind of comparing apples to apples. I don't want to compare it to something completely different, at least in terms of its tonal qualities. So we're gonna go into this ENGL Powerball here. Let's do that now. Yeah, this is the ENGL Powerball. Now, normally this amplifier has a noise gate on it, but mine is broken. So that's why there's noise right now. You can hear there's still a lot of the heart and soul of the ENGL in the Ravager, but obviously with full 100-watt tube head, 6L6s, there's significantly more headroom. I mean, it's very loud. It's a very loud amplifier. But with that being said, the thing that you will notice about a much larger, higher wattage amplifier with 6L6 tubes and the headroom is just, it covers more frequency spectrum. Like when I'm plugged into the Ravager, it's very mid-focus, there's not a lot of highs and lows, but then we throw that EQ in the loop, and you can get it more in the range of an amplifier like this, although maybe not as loud, more on that soon, but tonally you can get it much more into the range of this, and I don't think that that's a bad thing. I just think that that is a necessity in trying to strip down an amplifier and get it at its lowest possible price point, which I believe is what's going on with the Ravager. So let's go to the comments section now on the post that I made about this and see what you guys wanted to see in this video, and then we'll take it to band practice and I will give you guys my final thoughts and opinions on this thing, where it fits in the marketplace and who it's for. Okay, would love to hear it compared to the Fireball 25. Please compare to the Fireball 25 and the Ironball 20. All three with the 5150. Okay, so right away the first comments, people just want me to compare this to other amplifiers. I don't really want to do that in this video. I want to concentrate on the Ravager and the feature set that it has, but maybe we could do a comparison in a future video or something like that. Definitely want to see how it handles B standard 7 strings. What's it like as a power amp return using a 4-cable method or effects return? Ooh, that's a good question too. All right, I love the 7-string request because it gives me an excuse to play this badass guitar, even though I suck at playing 7-string. Let's go back with the boost and the EQ in the loop. Let's see what that's like. Again, I really think you benefit from having a boost in the front and an EQ in the loop, but that's just my opinion. You know, you guys can come to your own opinions on it. And preamps. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to my normal 6-string guitar here. This was fun. Okay, so this is probably a little bit early to tease this thing, but this is a new preamp pedal that we are working on over at Obsidian Audio, and this actually puts things in perspective for me a lot. And through this, it sounds very mid-focused, and if you push the low end, which this pedal has a lot of low end, if you push the low end a lot, it kind of breaks up. Let me show you here. it kind of breaks up the power amp section in like an unpleasing way. So you do have to roll it back here a little bit. Turn the Devil Boost on and see if that kind of tightens it up a little bit though. So to answer that question, I think it's viable, but you're going to have the same limitation, which I'm assuming is just the EL84 tubes. It seems like a bottleneck a little bit. It just doesn't have the same bandwidth that 6L6 tubes have. And actually that's kind of, when I was reading about the differences in between EL84s and 6L6s, you know, with the major difference being obviously 6L6s can handle a higher wattage application. The other main difference was the bandwidth and like what they sound like. EL84s being more on the warm mid-focus side, where 6L6s have a much broader range, more highs, more low end, that sort of thing. And that's been very much my experience thus far with this amplifier. All right, let's take this thing to my band practice and then I'll come back here and give you my final thoughts. Ow. Let's take this thing to my band practice and I'll come back here and give you my final thoughts and opinions. Okay, so now that you guys have seen everything, what are my final thoughts and opinions on the ENGL Ravager IR? It's complicated. Let me explain. Now, the reason that this is kind of complicated to come to a conclusive decision on really any of these lunchbox amplifiers is because the market is so saturated with them. It seems like there's a new one coming out every couple weeks. I had to write some of these down just to remember them. So you have the ENGL Ravager competing with its own ecosystem of lunchbox amplifiers. You have the MT15, which looks like it just lowered its price, probably because of the announcement of the ENGL Ravager. And then you have the EVH 5150 EL34 at $659. It's kind of crazy. I haven't tried that amplifier yet, so I can't really form opinions on it, but I'm just trying to give you an idea of what's out there right now. And then you have older ones like the PV6505 mini head for $799. Now, with that being said, the lunchbox amplifier that I have the most experience with is the PRS MT15. I've had this thing for a long time. This is one of the MK1 versions, so I haven't tried one of the new MK2 versions, but I can tell you about this one and comparatively what that's like with the ENGL Ravager. I've done a full video on this amplifier. If you want to hear it, you want to hear like tones, you want to compare them tonally, I will let you come to your own conclusions on that, and maybe we can do a shootout with ENGL Ravager and other amplifiers in a future video. The MT15 is more of a meat and potatoes amplifier because we have less features here. You do have sort of a power soak. You can turn it at half power. We do have an effects loop, but that's pretty much it. You know, what you see is what you get. It's just tones and really loud tones. This is probably one of the loudest amplifiers I've heard at this size, and it being a 15 watt amplifier is just confusing. It sounds more like a 50 watt amplifier, if I'm being honest with you. You have a huge transformer in it. You have 4 preamp tubes, and then you have 2 6L6 tubes in here. So just by that alone, it should tell you that this amplifier has a lot more headroom than the other stuff that's in this price range in the market. You also have separate EQs for both of your channels, and then you have a presence control here as well. So a little bit more tonal shaping options with this. In my experience, this is much louder. Now, on that subject, I would say that the Ravager is plenty loud to keep up with the drummer, with a caveat. The caveat being, and this is my assumption, is that the power tubes are really limiting the total frequency spectrum. Like, it's really just pushing the mids. You don't have a ton of low end with it, and you don't have a ton of high end with it. So with that said, I think that there's something happening there that, like a decibel meter won't really tell you, for example, is you're hearing mids that cut through the mix. Because as for my experience using it live with the drummer, it was just barely acceptable at pretty much full volume. But when I went back and listened to the audio, it was cutting through really, really well. So it was kind of confusing because what I heard and what I felt in the room, you know, if you're one of those guys who needs to like feel your guitar punch you in the chest sort of thing, you're probably not going to get there with it. But if you're the type of person that just needs cab volume on stage and you're going to run the XLR out to front of house and you don't want to carry a big amp head with you, then I think it kind of fits for that purpose. And that leads me to the biggest drawback with this amplifier, in my opinion, and it's just the tonal scope of the amplifier. The mid control is pretty crazy. Like, don't get me wrong, you do have the heart of an ENGL sound in there. It's got the growl, it's got the mid-range that you've come to know from ENGL amplifiers, but it feels limited by what I'm assuming is the PowerTube EL84 selection in there, and the fact that you really do need to put something in the loop, an EQ pedal or something, if you want to push the highs and push the lows and get it into the same tonal range as a full-size tube amplifier. So who do I think the ENGL Ravager is for? Let's talk about it. Number one, if you're an ENGL fanboy, which, just be honest with yourself, there's a lot of you out there and it's totally okay. There's a lot of you that like collecting ENGL stuff. This would probably fit really well in your collection. It's a nice little, let me look at the size of it. It's a nice little thing to carry around and just get that ENGL tone wherever you want it to go. The second type of person, and this person benefits more from the feature set of this amplifier, would be the bedroom guy that wants a real tube amplifier. It has the built-in power soak, it has the built-in IR loading, you can silently practice with it, you can silently record with it. Those are really great features for that type of person. You can also take this to band practice if you want, like leave your 4x12 at band practice and then carry this little head around with you. Just keep in mind the things that I said earlier about playing with the drum and whether or not those apply to you. But that leads me to the last person that I think would really benefit from something like this, and that is someone who really wants to check out what ENGL has to offer and see if it fits for them and wants to do it at a more affordable price, a sub $1,000 price. This might be the one for that. All right, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found it helpful. Thank you so much for being here with me. I really appreciate every single one of you. Thank you to ENGL for thinking to send this over to me to check out for you guys. If you like what I do here on this channel, consider subscribing or being massively overpowered like these wonderful humans over here on Patreon, where you get behind the scenes access, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.